Hello, fellow movie crusaders, and welcome to our special review discussion of Scream 7. My name is Sean Wasproof, and as always, is Brian Michaels. And for anyone who's been a watcher of the channel for, hell, at least the past year and a half, 2 years, maybe even 3 years, you guys know that we do tend to go into great detail about the Scream franchise, the good and the bad of it. And Scream 7, which is what came out this week that we're talking about, has been something that we've had many just random topics that have gone very long because of the journey that Scream 7 has gone on with all the behind the scenes stuff. And I don't know about you. I think you and I were kind of both, at least how I felt going into this. I think you and I felt about Scream 7 based off of what was going on behind the scenes. It's kind of how we felt both going into Jurassic World Rebirth. But I think both of us saw the first trailer for Scream 7 and we're like, okay, I'm not like, I feel a little more confident going into it. Were you kind of feeling the same way with that, or are you kind of a little different?
A bit, because I mean, obviously we were both, kind of bitter that they are continuing the Carpenter sisters story, which is what we really wanted to see. And we wanted to see, first Radio Silence and then Christopher Landon direct, and both of those didn't happen. And so I was kind of, I don't know if resentful is the right word, but I was like, instead of doing that and continuing the story that we want to see, we're going to go backwards. We're going to bring back the, original star who I don't need to have Sidney in my horror movies. We're going to go back to Kevin Williamson, who I like, but the more I look back at his career, it's like he's really very hit and miss. So I was kind of really on the fence, but I was still going to see it because Scream is one of my favorite horror franchises, despite, the mixed quality. But then I saw the trailer and I was not blown away by the trailer, but I didn't hate it. I was like you, I was kind of like, it's got potential, so I'll check it out.
The trailer was intriguing enough because they're bringing Sydney's daughter into the mix, who was played by Isabel May, who I've seen in a few things, mainly TV stuff, and I like her. So I was like, all right, cool. I want to see her. I want to see her grow and get bigger as a star, because I like what I've seen of her so far. But I liked the concept that they were going with. Now, it does make me wonder, had the Carpenter sisters, Melissa Barrera, Jennifer Ortega, had they been in this movie, would this have still been kind of the story with Sydney and their daughter, but with the Carpenter sisters in the mix? Or were this just like, no, they weren't even in the fucking hemisphere until they did this whole rewrite? That's what I think would have been interesting for me, is because I think we all, I know for you and me, Scream 5, we both wrote a better ending than the ending we got. Scream 6, we both wrote a better ending than the ending we got. And both you and I were both, and I think Skeet Ulrich even came out and said that Scream 7 was going to be what we had been writing in our heads for the past two movies, was that Samantha? Yeah, was going to go full evil, and she was going to be Ghostface in Scream 7, which I was like, fuck, come on. It was like, you finally were going to give us the movie that we were asking for. But yeah, so I was like, part of me was wondering if maybe they were going to continue with this was going to be the story. And then like Sam and I'm blanking on Jenna Ortega, it's Tara. It's Tara. Where maybe you're going to try to help, kind of like how they were in this movie, but you find out that it was actually Sam who was the killer the entire time. I don't
think so. I think
I don't know.
I think it was a page one rewrite. I think that I don't even know if there was a script, but even a story. I'm pretty sure that once Kevin Williamson came back and he's writing it and he's directed it, he's like, I'm doing my own story. Because first of all, I think they would have stayed with the Carpenter sisters like in like New York or wherever. I don't think they were gonna suddenly come back to Woodsboro. But I also get that impression, which we'll get into later in the full actual review. But the things that did carry over, like the remaining two core four people that were in this movie, were such just afterthoughts. It's like, if I feel like Kevin Williams is like, I didn't create these characters. I don't really want to use them. I'll put them in there just because people want their continuity and they like these characters, but I'm going to use them as little as
it's almost like they were Rian Johnson in The Last Jedi. We're like,
basically,
I've got to put them in this because they've been in the last two movies, but I really don't.
That's how I felt he used them. He was just like, fine, I'll put them in there, but I don't want to use them. So he give them a little side thing, and yeah.
Before we jump too far.
So I'm pretty sure Kevin Williamson was like, no, page one, just wrote his own story, regardless of what they were going to do.
And that's going to be the problem, I think, for at least for you and me, but I'm sure for a lot of other people, is that they're going to watch this, whether they like it or dislike it. Like I said, I don't know what Brian thinks of the movie yet, and he doesn't know what I think of the movie yet. It's just that's always going to be in the back of our mind, is what was the movie that we were going to get? Because, like I said, we lost Melissa Barrera. They were going to try to continue with Jenna Ortega, but then she was like, no, if you're not going to bring her back, then I'm not coming back. And then Radio Silence. And then Radio Silence was like, all right, we're gone too. They brought Landon in, which you and I were like, all right, fuck yeah, let's give Landon Scream. And then he kept getting backlash for shit that he wasn't even a part of. Everyone was hating on him because of Barrera and Ortega, and he had no part of that. So he was like,
fuck this, I don't need this headache, I'm out.
Exactly, I'm not taking this crap, bye. And then we got, Williamson, who I always was just kind of like, whatever, okay, fine. But that's not where we're at with Scream 7. We got Sydney again, we got Courtney or Gail, and two of the core four. But yeah, so I mean, I was like, I went in with like temperate expectations, but it's still Scream, and I think you and I are both kind of in the same boat. With kind of like how we are with the MCU. Even the worst Scream movie is better than about probably 70% of the horror movies that are out there.
Oh, absolutely. I'll take the worst Scream movie over any elevated horror movie, to say that.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, because like I think you and I both dog on the same two as the worst ones, mainly Scream 3. But even Scream 3, while we shit on that one a good chunk, it's still better than many other horror.
It's for me easily the weakest of the bunch, but I still enjoy it.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, I would enjoy it a lot more if Parker Posey wasn't in it, because I just can't stand Parker Posey.
That would help. There are a few other things for me, but yeah, that's a big part of it.
Well, yeah, and Scott Foley as the killer, and that whole reveal was pretty weak as shit as well. But we were both pretty high on Scream 6. But once again, this is now a whole new story. So how we're going to do this review is we're going to do the non-spoiler. We're going to do the best to talk about non-spoiler as we can. We'll take a little breather in between. We're going to talk about Scary Movie because they dropped their first trailer for their reboot of that franchise. And then we will jump into the spoiler conversation for Scream 7. So if you guys are just wanting to jump in, let's go into the spoiler part, hit the part on the chapter. It'll jump you straight there. But I would say listen to the non-spoiler because there's probably things we'll say here that we won't mention in the spoiler, so you guys get the full review of it. But let's go ahead and jump in. I don't remember if they ever said how long it's been since Scream 6 in this.
I don't recall hearing reference, but
2 years. I don't think they ever really say. They do mention New York a lot in this movie. They definitely want to make sure that you remember that Scream 6 was in New York. I mean, long enough at least for Gail to recover from the attack in Scream 6. But
I feel like it's pretty much real time. Like how long was it? 2023, 24?
I was around that. It was like
2022 was Scream 5, I think, and then 2024 was not sure about that. Anyway,
maybe.
But
I know we didn't.
I think a couple of years. Yeah,
I know we didn't get Scream last year. So, but anyway, it starts in Woodsboro. It was 23. Okay.
Yeah.
It does not feel like it's been 3 years since Scream 6. But anyway, we get our opener, which I thought was actually a pretty solid opener. I was actually kind of all about it. The only thing I would have changed, and this is, you and I are probably both in agreement on this, because oh god, what's his name? Jimmy
Tetro.
More importantly,
we love Jimmy Tetro. This is yeah.
Wait, what'd you say?
He's Mr. Zoe Deutsch.
Exactly. I would have done anything I could to have Zoe be there, and it would have been him and Zoe in the opener.
That would have been great.
I'd be like, the whole time watching, I'm like, you know what, meta-wise, it would have been perfect if Zoe.
And doesn't Zoe seem perfect, like for a Scream?
Yes!
She seems like the kind of actress to be in these movies.
Absolutely.
And if she doesn't have the time, fine, just do the little prologue there with him, right?
Yes. That's, to me, that was like full upon number one. I was like, how did you guys not get Zoe for this? I'm sure Jimmy could have talked her into it. Nothing against oh god, what was her name? Something Rudolph. Michelle Randolph. She was fine. There's nothing against her. It's just that, Jimmy and Zoe would have been like the perfect fucking opener for this. But we get a solid, strong opener. And then it goes to, is it Pine Grove, Indiana, or Oak Grove, Indiana, or wherever? That's where Sydney is. And we kind of get introduced into the life of Sydney with her husband Mark, who I'm trying to remember if the Mark here is supposed to be Patrick Dempsey from Scream 3.
No. The other one was Mark Kincaid. This is Mark Evans, I think it is.
That's right. It is
So
Evans.
different Mark.
So
I don't know why they bothered recycling the name, confuse people. Just give him a different name.
So basically, she dated a Mark who was a cop, and then broke up with him, and then married another Mark who was a cop.
I feel like because the previous movie they mentioned her husband Mark at home, but then like, well, Dempsey doesn't want to come back, so we got to recast somebody else. But we'll just have it a different guy named Mark. Okay, whatever.
Plus, I also wouldn't know. I don't think where Dempsey's Mark was, he would have just like left that job to go be the like chief of police in Pine Grove, Indiana, or some shit. But anyway, we jump into the world of Sydney and where she is now. She's got a daughter named Tatum. You know, nod to Rose McGowan's character in the first film. She is now the same age as what Sydney was in the first film. And basically,
I just want to say real quick, just to comment on that. Her naming her daughter Tatum, which, okay, yes, it was a childhood friend or your friends, your best friend in school and all those things, but you know that the world knows about these murders. You know there has been movies, 7 or 8 stab movies, whatever it is, made about this story, and you're going to name her that knowing that she's just going to get shit about that for the rest of her goddamn life. Just saying. I
mean, but Sydney's also in the mindset of, fuck it, I don't care what anyone thinks, I'm going to do whatever the fuck I want to do, so I can totally see her doing that. Which there's a moment near the end of the movie where it's like, okay, I get it, but you know, I'm not gonna go any further than that. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, in typical teenager mom fashion, they're at odds. They don't get along. And then, you know, sure enough, Ghostface comes to town and we get the movie the way it is. I can't really go too much into plot without going into spoilery stuff, but it's a Scream movie, so you know, do the math. So going into, now that we know the synopsis of this, what were your thoughts, non-spoiler, of Scream 7?
Non-spoiler. We're gonna tiptoe around this.
Yes, toe around this as best you can.
So overall, okay, I'll say I was digging the first half of this movie. I was like, okay, I like the characters they're setting up. I like the situation, the relationships they're setting up. There were some good kills in it. Not going into that. I will say that by the time we hit the second half, some things started bothering me a little bit more. And then in true Scream fashion, without going into specifics, the killer reveals at the end of this may be the worst of the franchise. And this is a franchise that we, as much as we love the movies, we have both said the killer reveals are always kind of the weakest part of these movies because it really feels like they just like pull names out of a hat and decide who the killers are this time.
It's either super obvious or it's so out of left field where it's like, really?
Which this one managed to do both, and we'll get into that later. Yeah. But it's just the killer reveal I think here was the weakest one of all of them, and so it just ended on such a down note that even though I didn't dislike most of the movie, a lot of people are really trashing this movie, and I don't understand that. I mean, it's not one of the best ones. I don't think it's one of the worst ones, but it definitely disappointed me, and it's because I can. And what's worse is it's not one of those things like, oh, I can't figure out why I just didn't love it. No, this one I can pinpoint every single point about it that really kind of pissed me off. Okay. The opening prologue, I did really enjoy that. Although the trailer spoiled the final moment of that. So there's that. Yeah. I guess I don't really want to say much more without it's not much more I can say without going to spoiler. I will just say that I did enjoy a lot of it. I just think that it fell into a lot of the pitfalls that the previous ones did. And the ending just kind of bothered me a lot.
All right. I've been waiting hours for Brian to get on so we could shoot this because I'm about 5 hours removed from seeing this, and the whole time I've been trying to think of how can I explain this as thoroughly as I can without going spoiler. The best way I can describe Scream 7 for me is like a cookie, like a chocolate chip cookie, except the person who's making the chocolate chip cookie does not know how to bake. The dough tastes like shit, but the chocolate chips taste good. So when you bite into the cookie, it's like, man, this tastes awful. Oh, but there's a chocolate chip. That's good. But the rest of this cookie's shit. That's the best way I can describe this. I'm kind of in that party that Brian's saying he doesn't understand. This was probably, because of how they did it, the worst Scream. If not a dead tie for 3 as the worst one for me.
So I have 3 at the worst. I have this tied for 4, which is kind of like, for me, I mean, we'll do this eventually. Someone's going to say it now. For me, it's like, well, number 1's the best. 2, 6, and 7 are all kind of right there, like second tier. Then I'm sorry, I'm not 2, 6, 7, 2, 5, and 6. I meant 2, 5, and 6.
I was going to say, what the fuck?
Then I feel like 4 and 7 for me are right there, and then 3.
See, for me, it's 1, 2, and 6 are right here, then 4, then 5, and then here's 3 and 7 battling it out at the end. You know how much I hate the ending of 5. So for this to be like, no, this is worse than 5, because you know how angry I was with 5. There, I will say, and this is a good and a negative. There's a plus and a negative for this movie. This probably has the most, I don't want to say inventive, but the most brutal and coolest kills in the franchise. And that's a negative in the same beat. And I'm going to mention that, and I'll go into the spoilers because I can't really say why without really giving shit away. But coolest and best kills in the entire franchise, but that's also a negative. So I'm going to say that. I think this is probably one of the strongest Neve Campbell performances since the early films, since 1 and 2. I think she actually is bringing this way better than she has since Scream Part 2.
Oh, especially in the early scenes where she was like being the mom and everything. I felt she showed more personality in this movie than she showed in any of the previous ones, including the first one.
Yeah, she was great because I'm watching, I'm like, why don't you do more stuff?
Yeah.
Because you're actually great in this. Joe McHale, I love Joe McHale. He's one of my favorite comedic actors out there. I feel like he was miscast in this role as Mark.
I will agree. I think that if he had been playing a cop like Anthony Anderson and Adam Brody in, was that 4? I think he would fit fine in that kind of role. But having him be as the serious, the husband, it's like I like him, and I didn't hate him in this, but he was definitely felt like he wasn't quite.
They had an initial scene with him and Sydney when they're in the bedroom. And I loved their back and forth. I loved their character. I'm like, I am totally buying these guys. And then after that scene, I kind of didn't really buy into it anymore. And I was just like, man, I love Joel, but you were not the right person for this role because you're not the Joel McHale that we all love in this. You're just like this straight and narrow Joel McHale. And that,
I mean, it's a little bit unfair because a lot of people can do their comedy thing and then do a serious role or something that at least not as goofy. For him, I mean, but there is that baggage. So as much as you don't want to, say he isn't right just because of other factors, previous work, it's still in your head. You can't help it.
It just feels like he held back or they neutered him during this. It's just
because you keep like waiting for him to make a joke.
Yeah, you just keep waiting for him to kind of be a little smart alecky kind of thing, and he doesn't get that. So his performance was uneven. Isabel May also uneven. I feel like when she is opposite Neve, she's great. When she's with the young cast, I don't feel like her performances is that strong. And I don't necessarily think it's Isabel May's fault. I think it's the writing for her that's the problem. Gail is
honestly, I had no problem with anyone. I'm trying to think. Except for one or two scenes, I don't think I had a problem with anyone in the movie's performance. I think it's all in the writing. I think all the problems.
It's all in the writing because that's one of the biggest main problems with this movie, and I can go over this without being spoilery. The friends group in this, the pseudo is it one of the killers, or they all just fodder for face. They're all playing typecasts of previous characters from previous movies in the film, but at least with like. The crew from the first few films, they at least have some character in them. It's like, oh, you're right, Rose McGowan's kind of like, the hard-ass party girl, but there's at least a character to that. I feel like every single one of these friends, one of them's even McKenna Grace, who's an actress that we do enjoy.
She had
they're all
Ghostbusters
just
reunion with
playing,
the other girl.
yeah, Celeste O'Connor or
Yeah, that's what
Cecily
it's
O'Connor, Celeste. They're all just playing a type of character, but they don't actually have any real character growth or arc. I'm blanking on the actor who played the boyfriend, but he was just like, okay, you be Jerry O'Connell from Scream 2 with a little hint of Billy Loomis from Scream 1, and go. And like that was his character. It wasn't like there was anything about him. I think his name's Ben. And then just like you didn't
Yeah, it's
really you weren't
Sam
memorable.
Beckner.
Yeah, you weren't memorable at all in this. You were just playing a type. Uh as a from
He's a German. Or
yeah,
German.
who's from Gen V.
Gen V.
I was like, oh yeah, cool. He's great. He's gonna be great in this. Nope, he's just playing Randy to a point, and not
Honestly,
even
I felt like he was
good.
just playing the same role from Gen V for a long time.
He kind of was to a point. He kind of was, but that's the problem, and it's just that everyone was just playing a typecast with no growth of character or remote acting. And Isabel May obviously had the most to do because she's the one of the leads, but even her character was just like, I'm the shy, misunderstood, and my mom doesn't get me, or my mom won't let me in. Wah wah. And it's like, I feel like you could have done more with that. And like I said, like Brian said, I don't blame this on the actors. I think this is strictly a poor writing decision by Kevin Williamson. And then, like I said, there's more I can go into, but I'm going to reserve more for the spoiler. The killer reveal is the worst killer reveal, hands down. And before you go, well, Scream 3 was bad. Scream 3 was bad. But Scream 3's killer at least had a purpose. Like, you found out, oh, he's the half-brother of Sydney. And so he tried to get with, back with his mom, and his mom shunned him. So there's his motivation. As lame as that was, and it was more because Scott Foley was just kind of a lame character through the whole movie, at least the motivation was there. The motivations and the
here is so bad.
For these killers are so. I was so pissed because I went from like I was kind of like you. The first half of this movie, I'm like, all right, I'm gelling with this. I'm here, and then I will say it got to the halfway point of the movie. I'll say the bar scene. You know what I'm talking about? That's about the halfway point. When it gets to the bar scene, I was just like, there's so many moments where I'm like scratching my head of, you're smarter than this, especially with characters that have been around for 30 years. Like Sydney does things, and I'm like, Sydney would never do that. Sydney's too smart for this. Or why did Sydney not do this? Why did Sydney not do this? Why? Because it's bad writing. And it's like, no, Sydney Prescott would have been 4 steps ahead of this point. And then we get to this killer reveal, and they're teasing it one way the whole way through, and then it ends up not going that route. And I'm like, you know what? As impossible as that other route would have been, at least that would have made fucking sense. At least that would have been interesting. But no, we get the 2 or 3 or 4, I'm just gonna say that, of killers. Because we all know there's not just one. That only happened in 3, and they learned their lesson. Never just have one killer. It's so awful. And then when they do their whole killer monologue, I'm like, this is so fucking stupid. I literally went from like, and it's just it's the worst. And it has nothing to do with the casting choices, because the casting choices for the killers are people that I actually like as performers.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it has nothing to do with who the killers were as an actor. It is the choices that they chose for the characters, and then the motivations for why the characters did this. It is hands down the fucking worst choice that they've ever made in a Scream film. Like you said with the core 4, with Mason Gooding and
Jasmine Sillard Brown.
They are in this movie literally because they were in the last 2. They are completely wasted. They are basically kind of written off, and then are just kind of thrown back in at the end. Gale kind of has no purpose in this movie. It's kind of one of those things like the Indiana Jones theory, where it's like, oh yeah, if Indiana Jones wasn't in Raiders of the Lost Ark, the movie still would have happened. If Gale and Mason Gooding and his sister were not in this movie, the movie still fucking happens. Outside of like one little beat, the same fucking movie happens no matter what. And also, it's almost like kind of like Kevin Williams is like, yeah, I really don't have anything for Gale and them to do, so I'm just gonna let the movie continue, and they're just gonna kind of sit down and just let the movie happen with them not around, especially for Gale of all people. It's just like, because the whole part in the third act, I'm like, did Gale really not go? Did Gale just really stay put and not do it? Really?
Right.
Like, this is not
even if she, well, I'll get into that more in spoiler. Okay.
Yeah, but it's just, like I said, I'm bashing the fuck out of this, and it's gonna get worse once we get into spoilers when I actually can fucking say what I want to say. It's still better than a lot of horror movies that are out there, because there's been some bad horror movies already this year, and it's better than a good chunk of the horror movies from last year. But this to me is the worst Scream, and it's not because Scream 3 is bad in many ways, but it's almost like intentionally bad. Scream 7 had so much potential to be good, and it had a lot of things in place to be good, but poor writing, poor choices and decision, basically poor execution of everything is why this one is worse, because it had no business being as bad as it did. Scream 3 had every reason to be bad. This one had no reason to be bad because it had everything in its way that could make this thing work outside of the Carpenter sisters not being there. What did you end up giving this?
My Letterboxd currently says 3.5. It's really, it's a 3 for me. I've done this a lot this week. It's at 3.25 because here's the thing. It's because, like I said, I do enjoy a lot of this movie. There are problems, especially the ending, and the whole explanation of it is dumb. But it's still Scream, and I like the people, and I liked a lot of the individual scenes, and I liked enough about it that for me, because for me, three is just an average movie. And so I give it a little bit of an extra bump for the moment. It may go down to 3 on a rewatch when I maybe not, because I went to last night to the opening night fan event kind of thing. But that's where I stand right now, which I know is going to shock you, but it bothers you a lot more than me. But.
If there was a way to give like 0.25, 0.75, I would love to on Letterboxd, but it's between a 2. It's a 2.75 for me. It's between 2.5, which is I think what I gave Scream 3, and a 3. And the reason why I say it's a 3 is because
2.5 to 3 to 3 to 3.5. It's right there. Yeah.
It's a 3 for horror movies in general. It's a 2.5 for Scream.
So it's, you know what? I can see that. I think for me, it's definitely only a 3 for a Scream, maybe even a high 2.5. But for horror movies in general, I give it a little bump because there are so many bad ones out there.
Yeah, so it's hard to grade it because it's Scream. But yeah, I am severely disappointed in this. And I almost kind of hope that, and they're gonna do another one because it's gonna make a shitload of money because it's Scream. I'm kind of done. Now, if Scream, we say this, and then 2 years, Scream 8 will come out, and we'll be right here talking about it again. But if they were to write this off and say, okay, this is the last one, good. I'm glad we're ending it because I don't know where to continue with the story where it's still going to be entertaining or enjoyable, unless they're going to bring back the Carpenter sisters and they kind of like, look, we fucked up, we're going to bring them back, or Radio Silence is coming back to direct it, or they bring Landon back in to try it again. That to me, I feel like is going to be the only thing that's going to be a saving grace to have.
I agree because I was already kind of over the original cast, even when they went into 5. I'm kind of like, okay, 5's the transition movie, but then like they were still in 6. You still had Courtney Cox and David Arquette, and I'm like, can we just? I think we need to move on with the new cast and leave the old ones behind. As much I love those
David
movies,
David Arquette wasn't in 6. Only Courtney was in 6.
But I was like, can't we just move on with this new cast and stop bringing back people from the past? And of course, in this movie, I mean, obviously they went back to Neve Campbell because they got rid of the other ones.
They had to.
But, and I had someone else who I know had in their review had talked about how if this movie was Scream 5, it would have worked a lot better. I mean, instead the ending and stuff would still suck and still have the problems we had. But it would work
agree with
better in
that. I
Scream
agree with
5,
that.
and then you move on to 6 and 7 being the Carpenter sister ones and move on from there. Because like you, I think if they try to do another one with Neve Campbell and Courtney Cox and them, I think that it's just going to be like, why are we retreading this old territory? So they would have to move on with the Carpenter sisters. But I think even if they're like went back to him and said, hey, you know, we're sorry, let's, you know, let's make up, let's go and do this. Or and if they went back and got, you know, Radio Silence or Christopher Landon. But I think, I don't know so much about the directors, but I'm pretty sure both the girls are gonna be like, nah, fuck you, we're done. So
I feel like
don't know what
if
they're gonna do.
they get the whole crew back and they apologize to Melissa Barrera, then they could, because Jenna Ortega is going to be the one that's going to be the hardest to get back. She will be the hardest one to get back because of where she is, like, you know, and her attitude. She's going to be the hardest one to win back over. But if Melissa Barrera comes back, I feel like Jenna would come back with her. But yeah, it's you're gonna have to do some serious changes to make us give a flying fuck about.
You know what I really think is going to happen? I think that, I don't know if Nev will be in the next one or not, but I think if they make another one, it's just going to move on with Tatum and maybe her new group of friends or whoever survived, which I won't get into that kind of thing now. But yeah,
I mean, we already kind of spoiled some people who survived already. People are paying attention because we're talking about people in the future tense. Like, if they come back, we're gonna do this.
But I mean, as far as that, but I meant as far as the new characters like Tatum and that, I didn't. Which ones were friends kind of survived kind of thing. So I think if they make another one, it's going to move on with that.
So anyway, Brian gives it a 3.5-ish. I give it a.
There you go.
I give it, for a Scream movie, it's a low 2.5. For a horror movie, it's a solid 3. So that's our non-spoiler. Like I said, we are going to jump into a quick little, brief little middle section before we go into the spoiler review. So if you're ready for the spoiler review, you can go ahead and jump ahead. But in the trailer reel for Scream 7, we got the first reveal of the reboot, I guess, because they don't. It's not number 6. They don't call it number 6 of Scary Movie. Now
those have never really followed. They've always kind of been a new creation each time, even though they have some of the same people.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it's always been Scary Movie 1, Scary Movie 2, 3, 4, 5. This one is just Scary Movie. It's doing the Scream 5 treatment, where it's just, Scary Movie,
which is annoying as shit.
Exactly, I agree. I'm not the biggest fan of the Scary Movie movies. I think they're okay, borderline annoying as fuck, which most spoof movies are, unless you find a perfect kind of gel. And I think the first 2 Scary movies were okay at that, but not great. And then 3, 4, 5 are just ugh. But
for me, I thought actually 1 was really good, but of course at the time we were not burned out on spoof movies. It was that and not another teen movie kind of brought them back. So 1 I actually really enjoyed because it was spoofing all the 90s horror movies and things. 2 I thought was actually a little disappointing, but I still enjoyed it for the most part. I mean, it wasn't great, but it was fun. 3, 4, and 5.
I feel like two had the more memorable lines, where 1 was the more memorable movie.
Yeah,
I feel like.
And 3, 4, and 5, I don't hate. A lot of people, especially 4 and 5, people really hate those. I think that they are fine distractions. That they aren't. I wouldn't call them good movies even, but they've got some funny stuff in them. They're kind of just like a dumb thing to watch when you're in the mood to laugh. But yeah, I assumed this franchise was dead. But they brought their Scream back, so why not bring a Scary Movie? Especially with how horror movies have changed and the new movies have come out since then. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm intrigued to see what they do with it because of how the horror landscape has changed since Scary Movie 5. For good and bad, because I don't know how they're going to spoof some of this shit. But I mean, just at the, what was it, like the 2-minute trailer, I already had seen at least 12 movies that they were spoofing in it. Now, hopefully, it is going to be like Scary Movie 1, 2, and even 3 to an extent, where there's an actual story happening through the spoofs, and not like the actual spoof movies that killed the genre, where it was like, we're just going to throw 1,000 references in there, and
that's what bothered me about the trailer, because especially the first Scary Movie, it had a story, and there were references to other horror movies or scenes that copied other horror movies, but it wasn't just reference. It was like, hey, look, we're talking about this movie now. Yeah. In the trailer for this,
It felt like reference.
Well, that like all I think the whole trailer to me, I thought most of the stuff was pretty damn funny, but it also felt like, hey, reference this movie, reference this movie, reference this movie, reference this movie, and I'm like, if that's it, then that's the exact problem with all those like date movie, epic movie, disaster movie. That's the problem they fell into, was we're just gonna, especially when they're referencing such new things. Like in this case, they're doing weapons and sinners and all these. It's like
Terrifier 3.
Yeah,
the substance was in there as well.
Mm-hmm.
But the one thing that this will have that date movie and all them didn't have is this has the original cast. I think every single one from Scream 1, except for maybe Shannon Elizabeth. I didn't see her.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing
her.
But
I mean, Sherry O'Terry, Doofy, freaking the I can't remember his character name, but the Billy Loomis character. All of them are back in this. And I'm like, but that's okay. I was like, so even if it is like the shitty spoof ones, at least they've got the whole cast for the most part back together. And at least these people are good at doing the spoof stuff. So maybe that'll help. Even though when I saw Sherry O'Terry and Doofy, I was like, oh, really? They're back? Because I really wasn't happy to see them back. But we don't know how long they're actually going to be in the movie. It's just like a scene or if they're in the whole damn thing. But I'm interested. I'm not excited. Because like I said, I've gone back and rewatched all the Scary Movies and Screams in the past couple months so I could be prepared for Scream 7 and then Scary Movie. Scary Movie 5 was, if we were doing cinemasochism, Scary Movie 5 should be on that list. Scary Movie 5 was a hard chore to fucking get through. Because that was right in the realm of when date movie, superhero movie, all of them were starting, and it was just it was awful.
But to be fair, though, also Scary Movie 3, 4, and 5 were not made by the Wayans.
No,
Keenan's back directing this, or not? He wrote and produced it along with the other Wayans brothers. So yeah.
Yeah, and then like the other thing too is that Scary Movie 4 wasn't even like the main storyline wasn't even a horror movie. It was War of the Worlds. It was a sci-fi movie. It's like that's not even a horror movie, man. What the fuck are you doing? But there was enough funny moments in the trailer, especially in the Terrifier part with the little girl. Everyone in the theater laughed at that part. I think that was like what the fuck kind of thing. So I am optimistic about it, but I'm not excited. And I don't. I plan for this trailer for this movie to come out. And I'll probably just be like, nah. Much like
I'm a little bit excited for it. I mean, maybe excited is not the word for it, but I'm more than interested. I'm looking forward to it, but I am doing so knowing full well that it could just not work and be kind of crappy. But I'm at least looking forward to based on what I saw. I am curious to know because coming out later this year and having Scream 6 just come out, I'm wondering if they'll put something from Scream 6 into this movie just to be, totally current.
You mean Scream 7?
7, sorry, I meant 7, yeah.
Okay, I was gonna say because they mentioned 6 in the trailer.
Yeah.
What's
the opening scene?
What's Nev Campbell without Scream? Scream 6. Yeah. I was like, actually that made me laugh. That was a
pretty fun line, actually.
Yeah. All right, so we had our little buffer. Let us now go into spoiler territory for Scream 7. So here is your warning. You guys have already had about 5-10 minutes of a breather between. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh, where to begin? Okay, let's just
start with the opening. That's why I started with the prologue.
Let's start at the beginning.
I would absolutely stay at that fucking house, by the way.
I would totally go to that house too.
I was actually thinking, I wonder if that was a house built for the movie, like a set, or if they took a real house that exists and filmed it. Because if it is a real house, they should absolutely totally turn that into that because a ton of people would go stay there.
As soon as I got there, I was like, wow, that is brilliant, but fucked up at the same time. But like I said, it would have been so much better if Zoe Deutsch was the girl with Jimmy. But
yeah, especially when you saw the chalk outlines of fake blood, I'm like, holy shit.
The one thing that they didn't address, and I saw it, and I was like, oh, I wonder what that is. So it's like when they go in, they have all the stab posters. To the right, it looks like urns. and I'm like, is that like the dead? Because they looked like a bunch of urns like on a shelf.
Well,
And
based
I
on the way they
wanted,
had
I
everything else
wanted them.
decorated, with the chalk outlines where they died and everything, I could see them putting things up there. I mean, it's not going to be the actual remains of those
I was
people,
going to say,
but I
like,
could
part of me was
see.
like, did they somehow get the fucking bodies and burn them and put them in the
No,
house?
no, I could see the people who will put together this Airbnb or whatever. I could see them like putting those things there labeled as the people, just as like props into part of the experience.
Yeah.
Because
But
if there were real urns with all the actual remains, that probably would have been the fucking museum from the last movie.
that is true. That is very true. But yeah, so they turned Stumacher and fuck, I'm blanking on what's her name, Aurora from 5, because it was her house in 5, wasn't it? Then they didn't she live in Stu's house in the 5th one?
I don't recall. Maybe I
because it was all because like remember
Yeah.
that Jimmy goes into the kitchen and goes, this is where Gail and Sydney lit her.
That's
on
right,
fire.
because that's where Amber in the kitchen. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so but yeah, it's now like a bed and breakfast kind of thing where people can go there, or I don't even call it a bed and breakfast, but it's
Airbnb.
basically somewhere people can go. Yeah, an Airbnb. Yeah, they got taped, markers where all the dead bodies are and shit. And there's that one part where Jimmy's like, "Oh, cool, fake blood." I go, "That's probably not fake, bro," but it ended up being fake. I was like expecting it to be real blood. The animatronic ghost face, I was like, that's so not going to be an animatronic by the end of the
you knew where it was going from moment one.
Oh, absolutely, but I loved it at the same time.
I loved it. I also loved early in the movie. I'm like, I love the way this is directed. When you see you barely see the haze of the mask in the background, like in the dark. You're like, oh shit, I love the way this is going. And even though you knew it was coming,
there was almost certain points too where it's almost like because the ghost face mask is usually always the same image, but I don't know if they like graded a little bit. But there were certain points, especially where we looked at the ghost face mask, looked angry. And I was like, well, that doesn't look like the normal ghost face mask. But
if you remember from that museum from the other movie, it's like they were like the ghost face masks were all like a little different. Some were more faded and beat up than others, and some had they looked a little bit different.
Well, that's because they were like almost 30 years old at that point. Yeah. Those masks were getting all roughed up. But yeah, so you get Jimmy going around. I don't remember what his character name was, but you get Jimmy kind of running around like fanboying over this whole place. Scott. And his girlfriend is just really not having it. I mean, she tried, but he's going super fanboy, and it was a kind of one of those things where I was like, dude, I get that you're trying to get laid tonight, but you're going about it totally wrong way. But then of course, inevitably, Ghostface is there, and we get a brutal kill of Jimmy. And I loved how like his eye. Did you notice his eye?
Oh yeah,
like curving in. I was like, oh. And her death. I think the initial stab that she got was awesome because of the force of that, man. Like, I'm sorry, she probably would have died right from the force of like just from falling right down into it. Didn't really love the fire aspect of it because she was on fire for like 5 seconds and then died. And I'm like, granted, she had been stabbed, but still, I was like, you died way too fast in that scene. And plus, they also kind of called it out when she was like, oh man, she goes, I would hate to die like that. That'd be the worst way to go. I'm like, okay, so your ass is getting lit on fire. It's like you just called out your own death, and Ghostface is around. He's going to hear that shit. But I also,
I felt like, well, first of all, again, that shot of her falling down onto the knife was in the trailer, which fuck you.
It was.
So you knew what was coming when that, and they've never, I don't think, ever spoiled those endings of the prologues before. This is the first time they've done that. That's why it annoyed me so much. And then as far as the fire, I felt like they did that.
I'm not used to seeing Ghostface do that, and I don't know if I liked watching Ghostface like use.
Well, you know why I think they did that. Now I don't know Kevin Williamson's motivations. I think he did that so that you would further suspect, once you realize he was a suspect, that it was Stumacher burning down his old house. But then they never really addressed that. So it didn't become any. I think it was just one more red herring.
Since you brought up Stu, let's go ahead and jump into the Stumacher part of it. I loved Matthew Lillard in this. He was great. It was so nice to see him come back as Stu. And it was one of those things where it's like, yeah, it's probably a deep fake, but by the time we ended up getting what we got, I was like, man, I kind of just wish it really was Stu. Because even though it's unbelievable that Stu would have still survived, him being alive and being the killer was more believable than the bullshit that we actually got in this movie.
That is exactly what I was thinking, because I didn't want him to be back and alive, because it would be ridiculous if they did. And then when they started showing him, my first thought before they even the character address it, I'm like, this is going to turn out to be somebody's AI deepfake shit. Absolutely, in this current day, that's absolutely where they're going with this. So he's not going to be the killer. But like you, as much as I didn't want Stu to turn out to be alive, by the end I was like, yeah, it would have been better than this bullshit, like you said. I feel like
been so much better
if you were not going to bring Matthew Lillard back and use him as a real character in this movie and use him properly, I wish they just would not have done it at all, because doing it like this felt like fan service for the purpose of fan service. It felt like he didn't really, it didn't work for me. It felt like he did like all his filming like in one day in front of a blue screen somewhere. He just had them read this 4 or 5 little speeches from the phone calls, and it bothered me that he was wasted like that. And it also bothered me that even with today's technology, the best technology, you can do AI and make it look convincing. You can't do it live as it's happening during a conversation. Even fucking James Cameron, when he's filming Avatar, and he can see on his little tablet, like, what is actually being filmed, but in like the Navi or whatever. Even that's not full resolution stuff. You cannot fucking live do perfect resolution, looking real deepfake. Sorry.
What was even funnier about it? And I'm saying funny as like not haha funny, but like funny like, oh, come on. Was like there's like the scenes where he's talking to Sydney where it's like just up close and it looks great. And then there's a time where it's like a stomach up shot. And it looks like those like if you went on like Scream the Ride and you're in the wait line and you like are looking at the TV and like, oh, they got the cast to go shoot something for a day. Because when we get to the finale, oh my fucking god, when they that shit pissed me off. I was like, oh, we got Scott Foley, we got Lauren
Laurie Metcalf.
Metcalf. And we got David Arquette. And it looked so bad. First off, Scott Foley did not look like that in Scream 3. It looked like Scott Foley was shooting an interview for Entertainment Tonight. It was like, hey, while you're here, you want to shoot some lines for Scream 7? Sure. And also, Dewey didn't look like that when he died. He looked old.
Right, like if you had used them like you used Stu, where you're trying to convince.
Even Billy Loomis.
Well, no, but I'm saying as far as in the world of this movie where the killers are using this AI, they were using Stu to try to convince her that Stu was the one behind it and was still alive. So yes, they went full on. He's aged. He has scars from where the TV supposedly fell on his head and all that kind of thing. That made sense. But for the other people who they weren't, now if they were using them as, oh, these people are still alive and they're around and they're involved, then I could see, okay, maybe you in your AI you aged them up and made them look different or whatever. But you didn't. They were nothing but like, hey, look at this cameo, look at this cameo. So there's no reason that they would have aged them up and made them look different than things. And David Arquette looked like shit.
Laurie Metcalf looked. I mean, I'm not gonna say she looked awful, but compared to where she looked like in Scream 2, it was like, what are you fucking doing? And then Scott Foley looked better here than he did in Scream 3. And like I said, but it literally looked like he was just like on location somewhere. And he's like, okay, yeah, sure, I'll shoot this shot. Yeah. Hey, Sid.
There was no reason to have any of those people in this movie, especially the fact that they announced a long time ago that these people were in the movie. This isn't like something that leaked. This is they announced these people are in the movie, and it was just like, A, if you were looking forward to seeing them, you'd be disappointed. B, they have no reason to be in this. It's like, what the fuck?
No, because if that's the case, why didn't you do Billy Loomis? Why didn't you do Emma Roberts? Why didn't you do Richie? Why didn't you do any of these other killers? Why did you choose? Honestly, two of the weakest killers in the franchise, and Laurie Metcalf and Scott Foley. You chose them, and then you did Dewey, and I was like, okay, that's got a good emotional gut punch for Sid, but also that's not how Dewey looked. So it's a weird choice for that, and it just looked awful. But initially, though, when like they had like this profile shot of Lillard, it looked great. And that's the other thing that made no sense too, is they are acting like they know how his mannerisms were. And like they were acting 100% like Stu. It's not like Stu was ever filmed and they were able to study Stu and how Stu talked and shit. And he was saying lines to Sydney like, I always had a thing for you, Sid. How the fuck do they know he said that? And don't say, oh, it was probably in Stab 1. No. Like, he's saying shit that no one outside of Sydney would know. And his mannerisms and his joking and his talking and all that shit. These people wouldn't know how Stu talked because he wasn't alive when all this shit came out. So that was agitated as shit, which made it seem like, okay, well, if he's alive, at least it's because he's, and then he's not, and he's like, man, fuck you, movie. Like, fuck you. That's stupid. Like, you had me for a second there when they went to the psych ward, and he was like, oh, that's John Doe. I was like, oh shit, is Stu actually alive? That's actually kind of cool.
Well, no, for me, we're in the spoiler section now. For me, the moment Ethan Embry said, it was the one person who knows, oh yeah, that's John Doe. He was doing that. I'm like, okay, he's the one who's making this shit up because he's trying to convince them that he was still alive. Yeah, that was the moment I knew that Ethan Embry was one of the killers. As soon as he said, oh yeah, that's John Doe.
Okay, so before we get into Ethan Embry of it all, what did you think of the random killer, Carl?
I think it's one of those things. You know what it is? I think it's one of those things where they know that they've faked out people so many times, and Ghostface gets away so often, and they aren't going to make the same mistakes and all that kind of thing. So I think it's like they wanted to have where, they weren't as stupid this time. They actually were able to kill one, and then when they knocked him down, they didn't all turn away and walk away and go back and find his body gone, but they did that in later. But they actually like kept an eye on the body, and they actually unmasked him, which they never fucking want to do in the previous movies. And they pull out, so they wanted to like actually feel like these people actually learned something. But we don't want to give away the killers, so we're going to have it be the third one that the real two killers just kind of employed or got to help them out and do this thing.
I mean, that while that scene that and this is the part where we start to. It wasn't.
Also,
I wasn't turning
also,
yet.
So I was talking about the scene. Let me just say one more thing real quick. When they go home and the police, I think
you're about to say what I'm going to say.
The police clear the house. You're not going to look in the attic where there's a big clear attic right there?
Because as soon as the camera panned to the home, I'm like, there's an attic, isn't there? Why the fuck wouldn't they check the attic?
It's not like a hidden attic. It's like you can see the hatch.
So that whole scene, not the whole scene. I'm talking about the scene from like once he landed in the hallway to him grabbing Tatum. That whole scene pissed me the fuck off because Sydney goes into the room where Mark is, and she's like, why did you turn out the light? I didn't turn out the light. And then the light shuts off. Your next step is to then go in the dark with the gun raised, turn on the fucking lights. You're
By the way,
smarter
the gun
than
that clearly had a flashlight attached to it, and he didn't turn it on.
Yeah, it's like, you guys are both smarter than this. Turn on every fucking light as you're going. And then, I'm sorry, my throat's getting dry. Then Ghostface has Tatum, and he's holding her, but his head's all... Shoot him in the fucking head, man. It's a knife. Your gunshot is going to hit him before he slices her throat. He's leaving his head all the way the fuck out here. You have him fucking point blank. And City's like, put down the gun, Mark. Yo, Mark, fucking shoot him.
When has ever in the history, in the 30-year history of Scream, has reasoning with the killer like, okay, I'll put down the gun, don't hurt that person? When have they ever been like, oh, okay, and all that? No. It's there. You might as well hold the gun on him because putting it down is not going to do anything but make you weaker.
At least in like Scream 2, when Laurie Metcalf has Sydney, she's like hiding like behind it because she knows they're gonna still shoot me in the head.
And he's just standing there like this.
Like this. I'm like, his head is right fucking there. If you're that bad of a shot, okay, give it to Sid. Sid knows how to shoot people in the head. But it's like, and then once again, you have that whole fight once again in the dark. Turn on the fucking lights, people, like, for crying out loud. And then you have the safe room that they were in for what, 10 seconds? Like, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
like,
we're in the safe room, but we're gonna
let's
go
into
into
an area
walls,
that's
make a whole lot of noise.
That's so not protected at all. It's like, okay. Yes,
Because
it
it wasn't even like another, like, because like the front of it's like this big metal barricade door that nobody can get in because it's a panic room. The backside they crawled out of was just like fucking just some drywall. It's like, as long as the killer came through that side, you can get in.
Exactly. It was just like, okay, smart thing, and then you immediately went and did something stupid. The one smart thing that she did do once they were in there was, bend the fucking knife.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, that was smart. But then once again, there's a fucking fire poker. It's just like,
also a kitchen full of knives, just saying.
well, he wasn't. They were upstairs at that point, but but it's like, well, yes, that scene was very tense and it was really well shot. It was also incredibly fucking stupid, But I did like that Joel McHale put up an actual fucking fight during that. So it's like he wasn't like he got knocked out. And it's like, Joel. I was like, no, we got to actually see a fucking fight, and even though it was a little like on the nose, that was a great introduction to Gale and the two of the core four. Was they just fucking ran the motherfucker over.
That was a good moment.
And I will say this: Mason Gooding had some great one-liners in this movie. Like Greg Cameron, well, I wasn't expecting to do vehicular manslaughter tonight, but here we are. Or like later he's in the bar, he's like, here's the man. No, I'm not going in there. I don't feel like getting stabbed tonight. And he ends up getting stabbed anyway, but not even by Ghostface. But that whole, I said the whole the killer Carl thing. I mean, yeah, it's a good Coral. It's like that was when I first started to feel like I don't know where this is going, but I don't know if I like it unless it was going to be Stu as the killer. And like I said, Isabel May and her and the whole cast. First off, when someone is a dick in these movies, they get killed, right? Usually. Okay. The drama teacher got out of this scot fucking free because what he says to Tatum during rehearsal, fuck you, dude. Like, my God. Like, you sir, and then like after they kill Carl, he's in the crowd. He's like,
yeah, he's there to be nothing more than one more red herring of, oh, maybe that's the killer. But it's like, do you even see him again after that scene?
No, you don't. You don't see him a single time after that.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It makes like I remember him getting interviewed at one point, but I don't remember if that was before or after that. No. He was getting interviewed after McKenna Grace got killed. That's right. So yeah, no, you never see him again after that scene. I will say the McKenna Grace kill was pretty cool. I like the I wish she would have stayed alive longer. But what did you think of that kill?
I thought it was creative, because she's completely helpless, just swinging around up there, can't do anything about it. She can't defend herself. She can't stop from, approaching him. So I thought that was good. I do think that the last slice where he holds it up and slices her down the middle and all her guts fall out, it's like, I don't know how sharp that knife is, but I'm pretty sure it's going to cut her and then kind of stop her. Because at that point, she wasn't even swinging hard. And so it's just going to get stabbed.
No, it was very
It's not going to slice her all across her cut. Yeah.
If he had a saw, like,
yeah,
maybe
it wasn't like a super sharp samurai sword or something. It was fucking knife. But yeah. But I did like the kill. I did like the kill.
Okay, let's jump to the actual kills in this. So, like I said, best kills in the franchise. I mean, Jimmy's kill was fantastic. McKenna's kill was really, really good. Do you remember what my biggest pet peeve of Scream 5 was?
Not offhand.
If you don't, I'll tell you. But what was the biggest faux pas I had with Scream 5?
That's just I don't remember. Remind me.
It was once you realize which Ghostface is what throughout the movie.
Yes.
Because it was it's Amber, right?
Amber was Mikey Madison.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for people who don't know, who have not listened to us talk about Scream 5, my big problem that I have with Scream 5 was that based off of how the story is going, Amber is the one that kills Dewey. But if you remember the kill, Ghostface stabs Dewey and lifts Dewey up with full strength and kills him. Mikey Madison would never be able to pick up David Arquette like that. Not a fucking chance in hell. I feel like Jack Quaid would even have an issue or struggle to do that. But because they give it away, it's like you start replaying the movie back, like, well, that means that fuck you. No, there's no chance in hell that Mikey Madison wouldn't be able to do that. That's the movie trying to basically treat us like idiots, going, oh, it could have been anyone. No, it can't, because you fucking showed us who it is. This movie does the same fucking thing. I don't care if you fucking did Pilates, Anna Camp. There is no chance in
I don't
hell.
care if you're fucking Alan Richardson. You're not picking someone up by the head like that.
There is no way you are picking up that teenage kid, who's your son, by the way, by the head, lifting him up above you. Yeah. Yes, and plop. Now, I will say, really cool fucking kill. But fuck you. Because at one point, I'm like, after they said, oh, it's Ethan Embry and Anna Camp, I was like, maybe Ethan could do that, but that's a big if. And then he goes, she shot me. And I'm like, as soon as he did, I was like, oh, fuck. My head went, oh, I'm going to get pissed. Because that basically told me that was not the one, that he was not the one in the bar. Because he's all the way the fuck over here.
But Ethan Embry couldn't have done that, so it doesn't even matter.
But I mean, he at least looked like he was a little more stockier, but no, he wouldn't have been able to do that either. So now I'm supposed to believe that Anna Camp was throwing, I can't remember Celeste O'Connor's name in the movie. She's throwing her around. Chloe. She's throwing Chloe around like a fucking rag doll and shit. And she's basically taking on everyone in that bar by herself. But once again, she picks up her son by his head, full body weight, and drops him on a no, fuck you. No. Fuck you, no. That shit pisses me off to no end. But here's the other problem, though. Ghostface is the can be kind of boring, but the greatness of Ghostface is that Ghostface is just human. It's just a person wearing a mask killing people. That's why it's stabbing and the occasional gunshot. The kills in this, while more gruesome, were so much more like Jason and Michael Myers, where they're staging it and they're doing these over-the-top kills that are very, because that beer keg kill, that's a Jason Voorhees, Michael Myers kill.
Yeah, because like 5 and 6, I remember in 5 or 6, the kills in 5 and 6, I thought really escalated how brutal they were. I remember especially like when he got into, like when he was in like the in the convenience store. It's the first time we're like, damn.
Well, he's using the shotgun, yeah.
Yeah, Ghostface isn't fucking around here. And then even some of the other kills in that one, they seem more brutal, but they weren't like unbelievable and just trying to be like you said, staged like the Jason kills. Yeah.
I bought that a real person was doing that.
Yeah.
I am trying to think of anyone in the franchise through all 8 movies that could have picked up Asa German like that. And
maybe Patrick Warburton. I don't know.
I was going to say the only one I can think of is Patrick Warburton in Scream 3, and he wasn't the killer. He was just the bodyguard. He's the only one, and I still think he would have had a hard time fucking doing that. So to believe that fucking Anna Camp from Pitch Perfect, picks up her own son, who once again also is taller than her. So that also doesn't fucking work. So I know everyone's like, you're fucking thinking. No, I'm not fucking thinking too much into this, because she even says that she kills her own son. And no, fuck you. This movie's not following logistically. That kill was like, as cool as that kill was, fuck you. That is such a bullshit kill. It's a very visual, cool looking kill, but fuck you on that kill. And then she just leaves the core 2. I'm just gonna call them the core 2. She leaves the twins just laying in the kitchen, doesn't kill them. Why? Why would you leave them alive? Because they got plot armor, basically. But she has no reason to keep them alive. It's just, she just leaves them. And then you also have the stupid the stupid tease that the boyfriend did it because he's got the video of or the laptop of him trying to do the thing, and it's like, why would you have even done that? Like,
see now if he was like I was because he was made out to be like this computer guy, so I was like, okay, if he was trying to do that to see if he could figure out so he could try to help him determine if the other one was real or how it was done, maybe, but they didn't say that. It was just like, oh, I just thought I'd do that for fun, just see if I can do it.
Yeah, it's like, it's one thing if you're trying to do it just, physically, but then he said those lines. It's like, you don't need to say those lines. You don't have to say those lines. That's literally just trying to throw a wrench into people's thinking. And it's like, well, he's 1,000% not the killer. It's like he's getting the Jerry O'Connell death. He's gonna be the good boyfriend, and he's gonna die. And because like even then, like when he first got stabbed, I was like, could be a fake knife. It could be a fake knife. And then he's like, I'm like, okay, no, he's fucking dead. But and then we get to the whole, the town is curfewed, so Tatum's running down the fucking street screaming bloody murder. No one's coming. Nev, my God, was she on the other side of the fucking town at the news station? Because
we don't know. Now, like in my town, like for instance, I know that we have like 3 main TV stations, but they are all way out in like farmland. I guess they don't, because I think they don't want to be in the city. But so this one could be far away. My bigger problem with this is that
I'm leading it. I feel like the same problem that I've got.
Okay,
I was leading into it.
Go ahead.
So Tatum runs into her mom's shop. She's hiding. Nev's been running who knows how long. Not a drop of sweat on her, by the way. So fake. Because I'm sorry, Nev's not in that much of shape. She should have been. She's perfectly fine. But then decides to stop and have a conversation with Tatum while Ghostface is trying to break down the door. Instead of continually running to the building to save her daughter, she's going to then teach her how to fire a gun and do all this while standing in the middle of the fucking road. You could have kept fucking walking. You could have kept fucking running. You could have been there and she would have been saved. Or you guys would have both gotten caught. But you just said, like, nope, you got to learn to do this on your own.
Well, no. My issue actually comes before all this. My issue was before all this. When they're at the TV station doing the interview, and then she's like, gets the call, like, I have to go. She's trying to kill my daughter. And she runs outside, and she's like, oh, shit, I don't have the keys to Gail's van. I'll run. What? Get Gail. Say, hey, can you come with me? Or can I have the keys so we can go drive there and I won't have to run there? Like, we can be there in 4 minutes instead of
like I said,
25.
It'd be one thing if it was like 2 blocks away, but it clearly is not 2 blocks away.
Yeah.
So
now she just go back inside and say, Gail, keys now. And like you said, why would not? I think you said it. Why would Gail have not gone along?
Like I said,
either
the 2 things.
Either to help Sydney or to get the story, or both.
Like I said, the 2 things. 1, why did Gail not go? And 2, they said, call the cops, tell the cops to get there to the bar. I'm sorry, it's not like Tatum ran fucking miles away from the bar. Did you ever hear the cops at all when the whole thing outside? No. Where were the fucking cops?
And also, the first time she found out that Tatum might be in trouble, the first person she calls her husband Mark, and says, Mark, you gotta get to the house because they're trying to kill her or whatever. And he called the other cops to send them. She never called her husband. She doesn't know that he's fucking lying, bleeding on the floor somewhere. As far as she knows, he's still alive.
Hold on. You're out of place. First time she called Mark was when he was at the school. That's when Mark got everyone there. When she called Mark the second time, which is when she was running out of the news station, he didn't pick up because he was quote unquote dead. Because she was running out of the building. Mark, we gotta get to the bar. And where are you? And then she tried to open up.
She did call him. I'm sorry. That one's on me. That's on. She called him.
But Mark was quote unquote dead. And also, how the fuck would he have still been alive? It's one thing like
that's one of those like Dewey in several previous movies, or like what was the other movie we were watching where somebody got stabbed like 58 times and was still alive?
Oh, I don't know. I
was it Scream?
Yeah,
I don't know. There's some other movie like there's no fucking way this person's still alive.
At least with Dewey in Scream 2, he got stabbed, but like he got rescued like within like an hour, 2 hours tops. Mark's been stabbed and he's been bleeding out for hours. There's no chance in hell Mark's still alive. There isn't. Mark's dead. There's no. And then even once again, going into that actual scene, yes, visually it's dark and there's all the cloth up. I'm like, this is a scary scene in terms of visual. But once again, Mark, you're a cop. You're smarter than this. The last thing you should do with a killer on the loose is close the garage door where you have even less light and then be like, oh no, how did I get trapped? Oh, dummy.
First of all, anytime you're in a movie, whether it be an action movie like Lethal Weapon or a horror movie like Scream 7, if you have a movie where there's like construction going on and there's lots of like white, clear, like, tarps, things like that.
That's a crime.
There's going to be somebody fucking killing people in there. Somebody's going to die.
Yes. No, at that point, you're pulling all that shit down. So there is no visible, invisible areas to hide. And like I said, that's always been the biggest pet peeve I have with horror films. And it's not normally Scream, which is why this movie pisses me off so much, is don't make smart characters stupid for sake of plot. Mark's character is smarter than that. So he should have been turning on the lights. Just like Sydney should have been turning on the lights when they thought Tatum was getting grabbed by Ghostface, which she did. And then they just don't shoot him in the head. What the fuck are you doing? And then case in point when Mark's in the garage. You're smarter than this. Don't be stupid for the plot. If you have to have a character who's normally smart be stupid for the plot to work, then you need to rewrite the scene. You need to redo the scene because you are making the audience feel stupid for believing that these characters are smarter than they actually could. Now, if it's like McKenna Grace's character, who is kind of, I wouldn't say she was dumb, but I mean, she's a teenager. She's not thinking right. These are adults who have lived this shit. Now, granted, Mark has never lived this, but he's also still chief of police. You're smarter than this. But once again, like I said earlier, Sydney full on just stopping from going to the coffee house to have a phone conversation with Tatum while she's being attacked.
Right. I can see how she would be like, okay, I'm not going to make it there in time. So I need to make sure to walk her through where to get the gun, how to get it. I get that.
But
she was like, I'm not going to make it there in time, but still keep
going.
And I understand if you can't run while you're trying to talk and explain this to her. You could still be walking. You could still be moving.
Yes. No, I'm going to stand still for 5 to 7 minutes and explain this. You would have made it there. You would have made it there. Oh, you shot him. Now go out there and shoot him in the head. No, you shot him.
You shot him.
Fucking
now stay there. Wait for him. Wait for me. Yeah.
Yes. And I will keep the camera on him to see if he moves. No, you go out there, who I don't believe that you're capable of doing anything, and you go out there and you shoot him in the head. Sydney, you're fucking smarter than this. You've been doing this for 30 goddamn years. Once again, bad fucking writing. And it's also, there's a line that is said during Anna Camp's monologue where she says she wants to turn Tatum into Sydney 2.0. And she goes, I'm going to do to her what you did to you, and I'm going to make her watch you die, just like you watched your mother die. Sydney never saw her mother die. Sydney walked in and saw her mother dead after the fact. She did not see she did not see her mother die. So, Kevin Williamson, didn't you write the first Scream movie? Didn't you write it? Because, I'm sorry, that's a big fucking, no. That's not even what happened. You don't even know the fucking thing you wrote 30 years ago. Because Sydney never saw her mom die. She just saw the aftermath. And going into the actual... Did they ever explain why Ethan Embry did it? I don't think they ever explained why he did it.
I don't think they explained to it. I think it was more like Anna Camp, I don't know, seduced him, whatever, into it, and he was doing it for her, essentially.
And I was just like, because the whole time, all he really said was that he's really good with AI because he worked for Google, which I'm like, that's such a random fucking line to throw in this movie. But I was like, I don't, other than just wanting to, I guess, kill people, I don't really think he ever actually had an actual proper motivation as this killer. He was just the muscle. Not that she fucking needed it, because she could pick up her fucking teenage son by the neck and throw him on a fucking thing. She didn't need muscle. But the killers. It felt lazy because literally Anna Camp is like, at least in Scream 2, when Laurie Metcalf, like, she's still like intertwined in the story. She's just always kind of there, and it's just like, God damn, this fucking reporter just fucking lives on campus. You know, why is she always there when, you know, when Gail's there? But it's like Anna Camp, she just like pops up like twice, and then she's just gone. Now, granted, it's like, oh, because she's Ghostface, but it's like, but you never really intertwined her enough into the story to like make her matter. So when she pulls off the mask as her, you're just like, but why?
Which okay, I want to say this now because I was going to say earlier when we were talking about Anna Camp, just because it's this scene. If you watch that scene, I need to rewatch it to confirm, but I'm fairly certain this is the fact that the whole scene, you know, she's holding a knife to Tatum's neck, I believe in that scene, right? Just stand there. Ghostface is.
Well, it was Ethan Embry.
They keep switching off. Yeah.
They switched off. Yeah. So.
But all in that scene, all the way leading up to like the last shot before she unmasked and revealed, stand there holding it. They cut away to something, and they cut back for her to pull off the mask. I swear to God, Ghostface shrunk like 6 to 10 inches. Like they had somebody. Like they had some. Yeah. Like they had somebody there standing there being Ghostface because you don't know who it is at this point. And then when you reveal it, when it was actually in camp, she's much shorter.
And once again, it's because they were made to believe that it was still. So it was Matthew Lillard height, and then it's like one of those things where it's like she's 10 feet back, so she looks bigger. And it's like, no, it's the exact opposite effect. She should look smaller 10 feet back.
No, but it wasn't even like I'm not even talking in terms of like the plot of the movie. I'm talking bad filmmaking. Like they had
I'm agreeing
random stunt person number 3 who was playing Ghostface, and then but it has to be actually Anna Camp pull her mask off. It's just Anna Camp, and she just happens to be that much shorter than the person they had in the costume.
I'm 100% agreeing with you.
I
was saying it was the opposite of the optical illusion. Is like, oh, because she was 10 feet back, she looked bigger until she walked up and she was smaller. I was like, no, that's the reverse effect.
Yeah.
When he goes, come out here, Stu, that was definitely Matthew Lillard height. But then, yeah, as she got up there, it's like, oh wait, she's like 5'3". It's like, what the fuck's going on? And then I love like when her and Sydney are in there and she's trying to find Anna Camp. You see her like scaling the fucking wall. I'm like, you are not Spider-Woman, okay? Yeah. Like what
is that Pilates, man?
No,
apparently Pilates is magic.
If Pilates can make you pick up a teenager deadlift, like, okay, then everyone needs to be doing Pilates because you should be a power lifter if you're capable of that. And I'm sorry, if you are that strong, then you should have done way more damage in so many other aspects of this movie.
That's such a dumb. I mean, not dumb. It's that is, you know, nitpicking on what many movies in this franchise has problems like. How can this person be there, and how could this person have picked up that person, and they're not that strong, that kind of thing. But it really, the worst offense of the whole thing was the motivations, because like I said, first of all, I thought that the Ethan Embry I thought was super predictable from the first time I saw him, and he identified John Doe. I thought he's one of the killers. But then when they and fine, if I want to believe that he was recruited by Anna Camp's character. Okay, fine, sure. That he doesn't need a motivation. He's just doing it for her. But the whole thing with Anna Camp, her motivation is so stupid. Like, oh, I was a victim of domestic violence, and I read your book and I learned to be a survivor. But then you decided to not go to New York, so that makes me hate you now. What the?
I got a point about the New York thing, but continue going.
No, that's pretty much it. It's like her whole motivation is just you were a survivor, and then it's not that you didn't survive; it's that you didn't happen to go to this particular murder.
Why is her not going to New York such a fucking big deal? You guys weren't in New York either. You guys weren't there. You guys act like you were Ghostface in New York, and you were waiting for her to show up, and then she didn't show up. And
it was the dumbest motivation in the world. And so you're going to tell me that all these, she spent the last however many years, did she buy that house next to her on purpose? Did she, and she had this kid, and then she just decides to murder her kid as part of this thing? And it's like, what the fuck is going on?
Because the kid reminded her of her ex-husband. But once again, it's like they all keep saying like, well, you didn't go to New York. Were you guys waiting for her in New York? Because why is New York such a big fucking factor here? Because she didn't go. I understand why Gail is mad that Nev didn't go to New York because Gail got fucked up. But for the killer's motivation to be, well, you didn't go to New York. And why so? You weren't there. Now, if Ghostface had gotten away in Scream 6, then it's like, oh, they got away because they were waiting for Sydney and Sydney never showed up. Okay, there's a connective tissue, but that's not the fuck what happened. So why is this an issue? And there's this movie shouldn't make me as angry as it does, but this is worse than Scream 5. Scream 5 pissed me the fuck off. This really agitates me because it's like, once again, this is the same guy who wrote 1, 2, and 4. He's a good writer, but it didn't feel like is it age? Like, because this shit is mediocre at best with its writing. And I don't understand how he could write the first 2 Screams, which are both near perfect horror films in your and my eyes. And then he wrote this. And it's like, you could say it's one of those things where he just rushed it because of all the bullshit that happened behind the scenes. But at the same time, you and I are watching this in the moment, and we're immediately poking all these holes. And it's like, did you not have anyone like proofread this? Did Neve Campbell and Courtney Cox not go, hey, Kevin, this doesn't make a whole lot of sense? Because I feel like if anyone has any weight in calling out Kevin for a bad script, it's Courtney Cox and Neve Campbell. But it's just, there's no reason for this movie to be as absent-minded in what they were doing in this film because of who wrote the fucking movie. Now, it's one thing to be just bad at directing it, but this is a script problem. And that's the other thing, too, is like, with the whole Anna can't kill thing, you didn't have to give that away that she killed her son. You could have, so that way we weren't like going, well, maybe it could have been Ethan Embry. I still don't buy that Ethan Embry would have picked him up, but you had to make a point to say that it was not him. And once you do that, then yeah, we're all replaying back. Well, so Anna Camp killed her kid. Yeah, I killed my kid. Okay, but yeah, how you killed him? Fuck you. No. And it's like, those are lines in the movie that you could have just taken the fuck out and left that up to interpretation. And then we're not poking holes in we're still poking holes. We're not poking the big fucking holes that we got. But through it all, like I said, is Scream 8, if we get it, is it just the tail? I feel like they would almost have to pull a Halloween is it Halloween Resurrection where they killed Jamie Lee Curtis in the very beginning.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like they have to kill Sydney now, or they have to kill Gail now to start the next movie. If Tatum is now the new lead, and Tatum is now going to move on with the franchise, which, God, I hope not.
I hope not.
You're never going to be the lead if Neve and Gail are still alive.
Right, and Nev's not going to come back to do a die in the beginning scene. She didn't come back for the last whole movie because she wasn't getting paid enough. They're not going to pay her for an opening cameo.
So it's just like,
and now to think about it, none of Tatum's friends lived, right?
No, they all got fucking murked in the bar.
Except for what I said earlier. So I wasn't thinking ahead when I said that at the beginning, at the top of the show in the non-spoiler section. So they had to move ahead with her and a whole new friend group.
Yeah, no, all her friends died. Because the whole time I was thinking through it, and this is back when we still thought Mark was dead, I was just like, man, she's lost all her friends. She's lost her dad. She doesn't know her friends are dead. Because she left the bar, all her friends were still alive. So I don't think she even knows. The only person that she knows is dead is her boyfriend. She didn't know that any of her friends were dead. Well, she found out that
she's the one at school.
Well, no, I'm talking about like Celeste O'Connor, and she didn't know Celeste O'Connor's dead.
Yeah.
And then she definitely, until Anna Camp said it at the end, she didn't know that Anna Camp's son was dead until then. So it was like the whole time I was like, there's a lot of like death happening with no one knowing it. Also, would it not have been suspicious when Mark hadn't responded to anybody for however many hours? When there's so many cops scouring the neighborhood and in Mark's house, and yet no one discovered Mark? Or go, hey, we've lost contact with Mark. Hey, Sydney, we haven't heard from Mark in 3 hours. Do you know where Mark is?
And I get the impression, aside from the TV station that's apparently on the outskirts of town, I get the impression it's a fairly small town. We're not in New York City anymore. It's a fairly small town.
Enough to the point that
the
when
whole
they
point
did
of the curfew
it was a ghost
is to keep everybody safe. I didn't see a single policeman on patrol during this curfew, watching people get stabbed and running through the streets and breaking shit and breaking windows.
Which is like I said, which is why when Nev or Gale says get the cops to whatever tavern, you never hear sirens. You never hear anything. It's like, I'm sorry, Tatum did not run that far away. You should have heard that shit in the distance. It's
so not only did Gale not go with Sydney, she's like, I ain't fucking calling anybody.
She told what's his name, the other reporter guy.
Well, whoever it was, nobody called him apparently because no cop showed up. Yeah.
No, it's so. I mean, this is the same case in point with was it Scream 5 or no Scream 6 when it was Scream 5 when Judy Marley Shelton when she got killed and her son got killed, like she's like in the neighborhood of where her son is and she's calling for backup and like no cops showed up. And it's like Winsboro's like probably not that big of a town. Like they should have been able to get there like fast and they never did. So it's just
I just don't know how they move forward from this because I don't want to see them retread Sydney and Gale again, especially since Courtney Cox is looking worse every movie. I'm just going to say that. But
I'm trying not to focus on that because it's just.
I mean, I get it. It's aging, but I'm just saying. I'm saying it's like I'm just not even interested in those characters anymore, and so I want to move on. But then I don't care enough about Tatum to see her and a new group of friends just take on whoever takes the Ghostface mask on next.
I would care. I would care if the Carpenter sisters were back.
I would care if the Carpenter sisters came back. But you notice in this movie, the core two come back. They don't even mention. There's not even a mention of the Carpenter sisters.
Once.
What did they say?
They said oh god, they said it at the bar. They never said him by name. But they said, man, even Billy Loomis had a fucking daughter or some shit like that. They said something like that.
They referred to her, but at no point is there any explanation of where they are or why they didn't come with and all this when they're clearly involved in this story, but they don't think, but not Gale or the other two, they're core four. Apparently this super tight group of friends wasn't like, hey, the shit's going down. Do you want to come with? There's no explanation of why they aren't there or what has happened to them, what's going on. So it's like, I don't know where this.
And even then, when they do quote unquote mention Sam without mentioning Sam, it almost felt like a dig at Sam because it was said with like such like a kind of tone, which I was like, again,
I feel like it was Kevin Williamson going, I didn't write those characters, so I don't fuck that shit.
So overall,
we
don't know where the franchise is going to go.
Okay.
We don't know where the franchise is going to go. The only way I think the franchise can do anything to make us care again is to bring back the core four. Did you watch the mid credits?
No, Scream has never had a credit, so I took off as soon as it ended.
No, there was a mid credit.
Oh,
no, it's not anything huge. Okay. Well, first off, were you there when they were doing the cast?
Yeah. Wait.
First off, that looked bad too.
Doing the cast. Maybe
they did like the old school like 80s like cast thing where it was like Nev Campbell, Isabel.
Oh no. See, because none of the previous movies, even right up till 6, had anything mid or post credits. As soon as the credits hit, I left.
Oh yeah. No, they did like the full cast with like them doing like what was like a 2-3 second like clip, and then it would freeze, and then their title name would come up. They did that and then like even Ghostface had like the body for Ghostface was like Robert L. something. But yeah, and David Arquette and Scott Foley's once again it's them looking like they're like on an ET set, like going David Arquette. But no,
it's the credits for the original Predator, where it looks like a fucking 80s sitcom.
Yes. Well, no, like everyone else's was like it was like scenes from the movie, but like you see David Arquette and David Arquette's just like this, and it's like, what the fuck is this shit? No, the mid credit scene is I why can't I fucking think of what's her name from the
Minnie
Core
and
2?
Chad. I'm
Minnie
reading
and
it right now.
It's Minnie trying to do the report, and she just keeps fucking up, and Chad just keeps giving her shit because she like fucks up her name. She finally gets it right. He goes, "Oh no, I forgot to hit the record button." So it's not like anything like super serious,
Well, and
but it was
seems to
funny
be,
for
like,
them.
first of all, like I said, it's that none of the other Scream movies have done that. So kind of out of place for them to even do a mid-credit scene, but also to do like a little comedic stinger like that in a movie that's tone is not a comedy. It's about killing. You've just watch everybody get killed, murdered, and sliced up and stuff.
It's
And
because those were the only two comedic roles in the movie. No one else was
right.
funny.
But then why shove that in the middle of the credits when it's like that's not what the tone of the movie is? It's kind of whatever.
Because the movie's over at that point. Hey,
I don't feel bad for missing it.
When I was in the theater, it was just me and one other dude that was still in there when that scene happened. Because I looked, I was like, it's probably not going to. And it's like, Scream 7 has a mid-credit scene. I was like, oh shit, seriously?
See, I didn't check
right,
because I was opening night. They usually don't have that information yet. So I was like, fuck.
Yeah, no, I waited and I was like, all right, well that was amusing, but it's not like it's the end of the world if you missed it, kind of thing. But all in all, huge step back from Scream 6. Like I said, the movie itself, like I said, best kills in the franchise, even at a detriment because it felt very much more like it wasn't Ghostface anymore, that it was more like a Jason Voorhees, Michael Myers type kill, the way they were doing the kills. But where Scream 3 was just a straight up like average, but in Scream world, bad movie. This one is, I feel like, could have been really good, but the script and the direction of it is so poorly done that I have to give Scream 3 the slight bump ahead of this, because at least Scream 3 is like, I mean, look at what it was. It is what it is. You know, I can't defend Scream 3, but it's like,
I think the reason I put Scream 3 a little lower is because Scream 3 felt like Scream 3, I think, leaned too hard into comedy. Scream 3 felt like a spoof of Scream movies.
I don't disagree.
And so I think that the tone of it, I think, brought it down for me. And the characters now, the individual characters now are like nails on a chalkboard for me. All of them.
Yeah, but at least they had character, unlike all her friends that were just,
I'll take characters in this movie over 3 any day. But what are you going to disagree on?
But yeah, either way, it's at the bottom for me. Like I said, maybe give it the weekend. I'll probably go, okay, it was better than Scream 3. But it doesn't matter. These are definitely in the bottom 2.
Definitely lower tier, yeah.
Anything else you would like to add?
No. I will say this is, I think this movie ended up exactly where I expected to in terms of how much I was going to like it. Now, it was for different reasons than I thought. I thought I was just going to dislike it because they were doing the Carpenter sisters and stuff, which is why I went into it very unenthusiastically. I'm like, I'll watch it. I think it'll be fine. I'm not going to love it. I came out of it saying there was enough of it that I liked, but I didn't love it, and there was a lot wrong with it. And so it's kind of like, for me, it's like if they weren't going to go back to Carpenter sisters, just stop. Just stop. Don't.
Well,
bother.
we've been saying that since they announced that they weren't coming back. But
right.
We're like, all right, well, then just don't do another one. And then they said, oh, Langdon's coming. Like, okay, we'll take it. And then he left again. I was like, well, then don't do it. And then it's like, nope, we are going to do it. It's like, and then that's where we went on our own little personal journey. But yeah, what were your guys' take? Did you guys like this? Did you guys not like this? Do you guys agree with what we did not like about this movie, or are we nitpicking it? I don't feel like we're nitpicking it. But let us know in the comments below. Like I said, I know it's like our second or third video doing this now. Not only are we on YouTube now, we are also on Spotify, Apple Music, and Apple or Amazon Music and Apple Music. So if you guys can't watch the videos of us talking about this shit, you can definitely listen to us when you're out doing whatever. So don't forget that like, share, and subscribe button, and then also 5 stars for the podcast versions of this, because we're going to continue doing it in every way if imaginable, trying to reach out to more of you guys. But let us know in the comments what you thought of Scream 7. Coming up next, I know for me, The Bride comes out next week, and also Hoppers. I don't know if I'm going to see Hoppers that weekend or not. It might be something I might watch a little bit later, but I definitely really want to go see The Bride. I know you kind of like, do you want to see The Bride, or you just kind of don't care?
I'm interested in The Bride. I'm not like super psyched about it, but I'm curious to check it out. Hoppers, I don't give a crap about. I actually a little bit interested in Dolly, which comes out next week. It's a lower budget horror film.
What the fuck is Dolly?
I can't explain it. It feels like very like gritty, like a Texas Chainsaw Massacre, like the original one, like a real gritty kind of looking horror movie. It looks like very low budget, but it looks interesting.
Oh, okay. I was like, I don't even know I even heard that one. But anyway, let us know your guys' thoughts. The director's nothing big.
I was just saying there's really nothing else big coming till Project Hail Mary on the 20th.
Like I said, I think The Bride's big. Hoppers is a Pixar film, so I think we're finally starting to get to like at least one, if not two, sizable releases now leading into April into the summer. I think we finally have hit near the end of the drought of not having really anything to talk about movie wise. So I mean, next week with The Bride and Hoppers coming out, I mean, I definitely will probably be shooting something. Maybe Brian will. It depends on if he wants to talk about either. Well, if he says nothing to Hoppers, but maybe The Bride. Brian might be here for The Bride. If not, I will be here to talk about The Bride. Because there's been a lot of movies out. I think you and I have both watched over 20 movies this year, but we've only talked about, I think, Scream. Scream, the only review we've done so far.
Let's be honest, there's only a few of them that are even worth talking about that we've seen now.
Yeah. So, I mean, and the ones we are talking about, they'll probably get talked about in June when we do our half year review. But I will be definitely back next week to talk about The Bride. But I think next after that will probably be us doing our Oscar show, the Movie Crusaders Oscar show, where we will be giving our thoughts and predictions of the top 6 awards for the Oscars, and then also giving our Movie Crusaders nominees and winners for the top 6 awards for our actual awards, which is really what matters. And speaking of the awards, the Movie Crusaders Awards came out a few weeks back, so feel free to check that out. And we are already writing down nominees for this upcoming year. And boy, is Scream 7 going to be on a few. But we hope you guys stick around and continue on the journey with us. I am Sean Waskrug. That is Brian Michaels. And until next time, in case we don't see you, go watch some movies and go have some fun.
You're still here. It's over. Go home.